Hi everybody, I'm Ryan. Today we're going to talk about why Krark-Clan Ironworks is banned. It seems like a pretty harmless, make an artifact, make mana thing for 4 mana, but there are some really weird rules things surrounding Krark-Clan Ironworks, and I wanted to examine the original ban announcement because the ban announcement is more lengthy than most other ban announcements. And before we get into it, I wanted you to understand sort of how Krark-Clan Ironworks works, because you'll need to in order to understand the ban announcement. So everything uses the stack. Triggers use the stack, abilities use the stack, spells use the stack, all that stuff. There's a few things that don't. One of the major things that doesn't is mana abilities. Mana abilities do not use the stack, which means you don't have to check with your opponent to see if they resolve, but also you can do them all at once without holding priority. So that's a big thing with Krark-Clan Ironworks, and what made it really good is that technically the sacrifice an artifact, add 2 to your mana pool is a mana ability. So it does not use the stack. So you're able to just sack everything all at once, and then any triggers that happen end up on the stack. But you have access to the mana before anything even happens. And that's really important to understand and it's really unintuitive to new players. Which is one of the major reasons originally why Krark-Clan Ironworks was banned. Another reason was that turns took forever. But let's see what Wizards of the Coast had to say. Nearly 1 year since the last change to the modern ban list, R&D has continued to monitor the evolution and health of the format. During this time period, Krark-Clan Ironworks decks have risen up to prominence at Grand Prix level of play, posting more individual play modern Grand Prix top 8 finishes than any other archetype, despite being a modest portion of the field. In fact, only one other archetype, White-Blue Control, has posted more than half as many top 8 finishes as Ironworks in those events. With no signs of the Ironworks deck's dominance at the GP level slowing down, we've decided to take action by banning the card Krark-Clan Ironworks. Okay, so presented data, presented a solution, that makes sense. So let's continue reading. In many ways, this was not a clear-cut decision, and R&D considered data over an extended period of time before coming to a decision. Ironworks decks require detailed rules knowledge and careful practice to master, resulting in a high win rate among pro players and other experienced pilots at the highest levels of play. In contrast, for quite some time, we hadn't seen Ironworks be as popular or winning in less competitive play environments. With Ironworks interactions being difficult to execute on Magic Online, it's been more challenging to gather data reflective on its win rate in the hands of a practiced pilot in tabletop play. That makes sense. Normally, they use data from Magic Online in order to make banning decisions, but if you have to do weird rules things, Magic Online sometimes isn't into that. With these challenges in mind, we've taken additional time to watch the environment evolve. By now, we've gathered sufficient data to conclude that Ironworks poses a long-term threat to the health of the competitive modern play. This is the right time to make a change, while the primary reasons for banning a card from the Ironworks decks are its raw win rate at GP top 8 conversion rate. We also considered its highly polarized game 1 pre-boarded win rate. Fair enough. I mean, most combo decks have that, to be fair. Sometimes long turn length and difficult rules interactions as secondary factors. Okay. Makes sense to me so far. So really, they're doing it because it's ridiculously high win rate. But also, are justifying it with the weird rules interactions. Games with Krark-Clan Ironworks can often involve excessively arcane rules interactions using mana ability timing windows, like we talked about at the beginning of the video, the understanding of which are necessary for players to agree on the game state. This can create a barrier to entry to Modern for players playing against the deck and to those who feel obligated to play with it because of its strong win rate. We're sensitive to community feedback, and the combination of polarized matchups, complex interactions, and long turns can lead to unenjoyable gameplay and viewing experience. All of that makes sense, right? The whole point of Magic is to have a fun game. And even though technically a deck is within the rules, if the deck doesn't make sense and it's not fun to play against, not chill. Make no mistake, R&D wholeheartedly embraces the strategic depth and robust system of Magic, and the player skill it takes to master them. In many cases, a deck's difficulty to play is a pressure against needing to ban a card, insofar as it suppresses the metagame population and win rate of the deck in the short term. This is a major factor as to why R&D has not previously needed to take steps against Ironworks. As time goes on and more players master the deck, we ultimately have to make a decision based on how the deck is performing in the hands of those experts in practice. Exactly. Yep. I'd like to emphasize that while Ironworks did perform well at recent Grand Prix Oakland, we do not make banned and restricted decisions based on a single tournament alone is a long-term performance of Ironworks over the last year, has cause for action, Grand Prix Open results, blah, 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 blah. We considered 3 possible cards for Ironworks to ban: Ancient Strains, Mox Opal, and Krark-Clan Ironworks itself. Given that Modern has looked healthy and diverse at many levels of play outside of Ironworks dominates the Grand Prix level, we decided to target the card that only affects the Ironworks deck. They normally do stuff like that, right? If a deck is being dominant, rather than attacking a bunch of different decks and cards that are played in a bunch of different decks, they, try to only attack that one deck. They don't like killing decks, though. In this case, it needed to be killed. But this is a really good example of, like, it's fun is more important than anything else. The turns lasted forever in the Ironworks deck, and in order to understand mana ability timing windows, that is a high level of rules understanding, and having a high level of rules understanding in order to even play against the best deck is just not fun. Like, that just straight up isn't fun. So that's why Krark-Clan Ironworks was banned. What do you think? If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.